All right, everybody, we should be live here, continuing our stream. Making sure I got everything set up real quick. Excuse me. Ooh, what's going on, Christina? All right, looks like we're good to go. Okay, so just jumping right in where we left off. And continuing our challenge. What's going on, syntax error? Spandex jorts. Let's get this party started indeed. Kevin said you're on YouTube. Yes, that is correct. I don't really stream on Twitch much. I find most of my audience is on YouTube anyway, so it's usually the way to go. Iron Panther says he has a face. I do indeed. Game is looking a little choppy on my end, which tends to happen. Yeah, there it goes. Something about streaming Wrath of the Righteous. When I'm in like certain areas of the game, the stream just doesn't want to cooperate, and then it clears up as soon as I start moving. Aiden says you don't look how I imagined. That's usually how it goes, yeah. The funny thing is, my face is never like really in the stream, so people assume I'm like trying to hide it or something, and it's actually in several videos. The thing is, it's just a lot easier to edit and everything if my face isn't actually in them, which makes it go much faster. No, real quick, hold on. All right. So we are pretty much good to go because we took care of everything at the end of last stream, so we should just be about good to just run and go, but make sure we've got all of our spells and everything sorted out first. And then we'll rest, and then we'll be on our way to the first island. Now that said, I likely won't have more time to devote to the challenge from here, so I will do my best to just die for you guys today at the end of this. But nonetheless, we're going to be playing for at least a couple hours. Alright, so rest, and we will be on our way. Make sure we're all set up here. And now we can head out. Oh, Parker Angus says, any games I'm looking forward to the most? BG3, of course. I think hopefully that'll launch the first half of 2023. I think that would be nice. And Starfield probably for sure, but there's just so much stuff coming out like early next year that I'm excited for. But those are some of the big ones. Moose Enthusiast says kamikaze run it is. Yeah, more or less. I'm going to try to get through at least this section of islands, and then if we're still alive after that, we're probably just going to, like, be as reckless as we can. Big Sound says watching from Europe, and it's almost 1 at night. Well, that's because I live in America, and here it is 5 p.m. Alright, Syntax says wondered of doing a Gendarme run. Like, you could probably make it work with Lich. I personally haven't given it a shot, but Cavalier in general is a pretty strong class. Alright, so we are off. Aiden says, given Alcat is focusing on Rogue Trader, do you think we'll see another Pathfinder game in this half of the decade? Before 2025, probably not. After that, maybe, but I would be surprised if we see another one before then. I would say, like, the beginning, like, late 2024, early 2025, probably at the earliest. Kevin said, can I ask where about you are? I live in Tennessee. And that's about as specific as I'm willing to get, to be honest. Alright, so... Are we not? Yeah, there it goes. I think I hit the wrong button. Terrence says, great content creator, keep up the awesome work. Thank you very much. How you don't have carpal tunnel in those wrists, I don't know. Yeah, fair enough. So I recently had to buy a new gamepad. I use Razer's, like, hand things. I don't even know what the actual word for them is. But I recently had to replace one because I wore it out. Like, I think that's the first time I've ever just had one of those, like, stop working on me. Normally, I have to replace them because I did something, but it just gave up. Merrick says, hey, dude, like your videos? Thank you, I appreciate that. Alright, so... What is... Oh, no, I know. Our formation is weird because of our horse and... Animal companions always mess up the formation, so I got people trying to run to locations they can't reach.
We should move.
Alright.
I'll take care of it.
About to cast a quick bless, and then we'll get on our way. Roger says, nice to catch you in general. Kevin says, Minnesota here, just wanted in general. Yeah, that's fair. But yeah, no, I call Tennessee home, man. I love it here. Alright, so... Gonna cast Bless, which I think is just about the only thing we need right this second.
We should move. My skills are absolute.
I'm never wrong.
Right, so this is our Scald. I'm trying to remember all the classes we made because I let chat decide some of them. Dominic said could be interesting to see if Alcat transitions to Pathfinder 2e and maybe turn-based after their experience with Rogue Trader. Potentially. I mean, we'll have to see what happens. I would be surprised if the next Pathfinder game isn't in 2e, to be honest with you.
I'll take care of it.
Alright, so cast Bless.
I'm always ready.
And then cast Mirror Image for you. And we will get going.
I'll take care of it. This will be quick.
Come on. There we go. Nice. Not bad at all for the first room. Oh, Thomas B gifted 5 gaming, or gifted subs, if you will, gifted memberships. Thank you. I really appreciate that, man. I actually haven't really streamed since they made that a thing, so you're actually the first person to have done that, Thomas B, so thank you for that. I appreciate it. Brand says, big hello from France. Thanks to you, I might try CRPGs for once. Always glad to hear it, man. I love the genre, and anything I can do to help other people love it is really cool. Oh, looks like Christina grabbed one of the memberships, as did Cloudisir. I probably butchered your name, I'm sorry. As well as Joe, Casper, and THG. Alright, so...
We
shouldn't have to do too much micromanaging here, because we have so many party members. You would normally have like maybe 4 right here, but we've got 5 and several animal companions. Though to be fair, if our skull didn't entirely block the door, that would be helpful. Thomas says, you're welcome, great content, glad to catch you live. Thank you, I appreciate it. Truth be told, I don't stream that much, because uploading 7 days a week is a bit of a time-consuming endeavor. It makes it kind of hard to stream on top of that, but I do enjoy doing it every once in a while. It's nice to actually talk to you guys, to be honest, as opposed to just answering comments. Nice. And we were just mowing through these skeletons. These guys aren't really posing much of a threat. Like, we're on daring. We are slightly above normal, so... compared to the very rough run we were having towards the end of yesterday's stream. It's a nice change of pace. Malvolio says a lot of streamers outsource their videos. That's very true. A lot of them, and in some cases what they'll do is they will stream and then they'll turn that stream into videos. But my content doesn't really work in that capacity. So it's not something I would really be willing to do in general outside of just something like outrageous happening and maybe wanting to share it. But outside of an isolated incident like that, it's not really something I would do regularly. Christina says, big fan of your RPG reviews. Thank you. I appreciate it. I put a lot of work into those. Those, as you might imagine, of all of my content, tend to take the longest.
Don't hold back.
Nice.
Don't hold back!
Do I still find Wrath of the Righteous fun? You must have hundreds of hours in it now. Yeah, if you count the beta and my early access with the review copy, I have like over 700 hours in this game. For the most part, yeah, I do still find it fun, because believe it or not, even with all of those hours, there's still like combinations and things I haven't tried that are fun for me to test out.
I do what I must.
Because the system's so big, there's just kind of more than any one person can really like hold on to for very long. So like you'll forget stuff and then rediscover it even. And it can be a lot of fun.
I'm gone.
Nice, we got a mimic. I'm guessing that's a little higher level than everything else. Yes. Which we should be okay, to be honest. We got full health. Oh, our buff just expired. Hold on, we'll cast Bless again just to be safe.
I am never wrong.
Nice. Easy peasy. Klaus says, if I can ask, do you expect Season Pass 2? I hope they add more content. Well, everybody can expect Season Pass 2. They've confirmed that they're making it. And the reward for, like, if the winners of this challenge, actually, the prize is a Season Pass for the Season 2 of DLC. So I would say it's pretty much a sure thing. I got two people trying to... Hold on, my formation's all weird again. Excuse me. Got a bit of a sore throat today, guys. Moose Enthusiast says, what do you think of the OG BG and BG2? I've played and reviewed both of them. I actually have reviews on the channel if you want like my full thoughts, but overall they're very good. I personally prefer BG1 over BG2, which is controversial, but they're both very good. Malvolia says, wonder if they have a DLC team and a separate team working on Road Trader. They do. They have confirmed that. They have separate people working on support for Pathfinder, and then the people working on Rogue Trader are two entirely separate teams. Marinin says, how can I play this before Crusade Management becomes a pain? Well, you can turn most of the Crusade Management just off through auto, so if you want to engage with that, it can be as easy as you want it to, really. Alright, so... dump all the junk.
We should move.
Should be able to slap one of these shields onto her Scald, because she's just using a one-hander. It's essentially the same. A little bit more AC for him, and we are good. When I use real-time with pause battles, what type of character do I keep control of? Usually whoever's easiest to play. Like, I can just charge with, that kind of thing. Real-time with pause isn't great for micromanagement without just pausing it so much that you might as well just be,
This will be quick.
in turn-based anyway. So usually I try to go with the easy stuff. Where's the best place for a list of the videos, a Patreon page? If you just go to the YouTube channel, I've got playlists for basically everything. You can find everything there. You can also search the videos page for specific videos if you want, but I have a lot of playlists that I keep up with pretty regularly that are well-maintained, if you will. Alright. Marin says, I would like to see Setsuna Shy in a DLC. You know, that is such a popular Crusade general that I think it would be really cool to just, like, make that a character that you meet in one of the DLCs. Like, actually interact with one of your generals. I think that would be cool. And that one would make the most sense because it's the most popular one. Can I please do a solo rogue build for Pathfinder Kingmaker? I don't really play Kingmaker too much these days. Like, it's a great game and everything, but, like, realistically, the time it would take to actually make a build like that, especially when you can find a lot of those already, there wouldn't be a lot of return on investment, so to speak. Alright. Hit a random encounter there, but now we are back on our way. We should be able to rest at this island. When we finish this island, we'll get an effect that can clear our corruption as well as heal us, which will be helpful. Alright, so... onward. Moving right along here, to be honest. Just little water elementals.
Their life ends here.
Gotta watch out though, because the maps with the water elementals tend to have the bigger water elementals as a like slightly higher room for rewards or whatever, like next to chests, that kind of thing.
trivial task. Ha! A trivial task.
Tom next says, I'm playing Kingmaker right now and can't believe they don't have a way to clear your own spell effects. Yeah, that was a big point of contention for that game, as you might imagine. Slap this breastplate on somebody. Can't use that on our horse yet. Can anybody use the breastplate? Probably you. Yes. What difficulty am I playing? We are on Daring, which is just a step above normal, and kind of a weird difficulty that I assumed nobody else would pick, which is why we're using it. Moose Enthusiast says no Amiri romance, though. Yeah, so this is a guess, but I would presume because Amiri is
a test of my abilities.
Oh, we gotta get rid of that aquatic pillar. Well, I'm gonna turn base this one, because I gotta get that pillar down. But I would assume because Amiri's an iconic character, like meaning that she's part of the TTRPG, probably they just didn't want to include a romance for what is, again, considered a sort of canonical character, so to speak. Not that it's ever stopped them before, but you'll notice that they tend to not deviate too much from the iconic characters in general. So...
Strike!
Man, I'm not doing anything. Pillar.
Don't hold back!
These pillars will just keep spawning elementals till you kill them, so it's pretty important you get them down. And I don't think I can charge at anybody, which is frustrating. Isn't Aru canonical? Yeah, like the characters that are part of the adventure path they don't necessarily mess with, but the iconic characters are something a little different. They're supposed to represent the class that they are. So Sela is the iconic paladin, and Amiri is the iconic barbarian. And if I had to guess, that's probably why they don't allow romance with those characters. But again, that's just a guess. I have no idea. Okay, so I think we're just going to have to run up.
You should have run!
These pillars suck because they just keep spawning stuff in, so... Alright, we're going to hit Inspired Rage. Which will be her turn. Our Smilodon's not at a level it can charge and get pounce. What's going on, Joel? Said love your videos, great work, I appreciate it, thank you very much. Narula says I'm really confused about difficulty settings. I have a video that explains difficulty settings in particular, actually, because they tend to be confusing. My cat is yowling in the other room. I don't know if you guys can hear that or not. Alright,
You should have run!
if I could not miss every single attack, we might get somewhere. But out of almost everything I have done
Strike!
so far in this fight, I have landed like maybe 3 hits.
You should have run!
Yeah, there's what the water pillar does.
This will hurt!
Man, I just can't do anything to this thing. And it's got a... So the problem here is this thing has like over 100 health. I don't know if you guys saw that. And I'm having to spend most of what I've got right now trying to just get over there to the thing. Do I ever get into TTRPGs? A little bit here and there, like D&D, obviously. I really like the World of Darkness, actually, like Vampire the Masquerade as well. Alright.
This will hurt!
Oh no, there went our horse, which means our main guy fell prone, which means he's probably going to die, because I'm going to stand up and take a ton of attacks of opportunity.
Don't hold back! Strike!
Well, this is already not looking good. I don't know if that pillar is supposed to have that much health, because that's technically a level 15 pillar. And we are not nearly level 15. We're only level 4 right now, so... as you might imagine,
Strike.
causing a few problems. Which CRPG would I recommend to someone who wants to try the games without prior knowledge? DOS 2 is a good one to start with. Divinity Original Sin 2. Wasteland 3 is a great one. The more complicated ones like Pathfinder can be a rough place to start, to be honest. Alright, I cannot...
You should have run. This will
For whatever
hurt.
reason, it wouldn't let me move and attack, though. Alright.
Don't hold back! Don't hold back!
Gonna be rough, to be honest. I'm not sure if we're actually gonna make this or not, because that pillar is ridiculous at this level. Twinkie says, hope you're doing well. Thank you, I appreciate it. Joel says, what about the Baldur's Gate series? For a first-time playthrough with like CRPGs, I would not recommend BG 1 and 2. They use AD&D, Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, which is like 2.5 edition for D&D. It's a system that isn't very intuitive. Like once you learn it, it's pretty straightforward, but it's nothing like 5e, which is typically what people are more familiar with these days. Rolled a nat 1, and I could have rolled literally anything else and would have hit. That's about right. Okay, so...
Don't hold back.
missed again by 1.
Mere flesh wound. Strike! This will hurt!
Okay, I turn on Perfect Strike. Oh crap, I want difficult terrain. Ugh. Okay, so... not much he can do besides move forward, really. Oh, he actually did get his attack. That was weird. He was telling me he wouldn't.
I still got it!
Well, this might be it for this run right here, just because this pillar is outrageous. I don't know that that thing's supposed to be level 15 when we are literally level 4, but here we are. Yeah, difficult terrain stopping me from even attacking at this point.
You should have run!
What's the secret to 100% in games so quickly? Play them all the time, 7 days a week.
Don't hold back!
What's going on, Lucas? Alright, so... I think it's safe to say
You should have run!
we're not going to make this one.
Flesh wound!
Which is largely down to that outrageously over-leveled pillar. So I think what we're going to do is just speed this up a little bit. Well, that was really disappointing. But to be fair, I did say I was going to try to die. Thomas says, will you try to do full playthroughs type of videos where you show an entire game? Maybe. That one can be difficult just because, again, it's a lot of time, whereas going through them for reviews a little faster compared to like literally trying to show and make sure people understand every step of a game. It's a lot more time consuming. Plus, logistically speaking, just having all of that footage is a nightmare. Just the footage I take for the reviews is usually like 100 gigs by itself, but trying to record an entire playthrough would be like terabytes worth of data in some cases, which would be a nightmare to try to deal with. Aiden says, I feel like the reviews would be the same even if you didn't do the 100%. Here's the thing, I agree with you. However, what 100% does, and doing it legitimately, makes people click on the videos, which means I actually get views, which means YouTube actually pays attention to what I'm doing, which brings in subscribers, etc. I fully admit that, honestly, it probably doesn't add as much to the reviews as I would like it to, but at the same time, it does make people watch the video, so is what it is. Alright, which tailwind do we want to take? Slashing's pretty easy. Tailwind of the Bearded gives you Constitution for every dwarf you're using. I don't use dwarves a lot, though. That one's pretty great, actually, if you're using a lot of ranged touch attacks, but in general, we probably won't. So let's go Slashing Tailwind. And then, for our character, let's make a Slayer. Just because they're super easy. And so the Deliverer is one I really like, but its main thing, Divine Anathema, which gives the extra damage on the alignment, is hard to pull off in the DLC because things will have such different alignments. People in chat basically saying, yeah, that makes sense on the review thing, which, I mean, yeah, that's pretty much been my approach. But that's something I'll see people say a good amount here and there, and I think it surprises people when I'm like, yeah, I agree. But, you know, gotta get people to watch them somehow. Right, let's do... Such an odd number of points with Slayer. Because you have so much stuff you're trying to mix. There we go. Alright. We can grab a rogue or something for trickery, but we'll grab perception, athletics, mobility, and knowledge world. We need somebody to grab trickery and knowledge arcana for items, though. And then we'll go blind fight, weapon focus. Let's go great sword. Why not? Lucas says, really enjoyed your Underrail review. I would have totally overlooked that game. Yeah, it's got a very dedicated following, but it is nonetheless a very niche game.
This will hurt!
There we go, jeez.
Their life ends here!
UI kind of freaked out on me there. Okay, so that's that character made. And then we can go talk to the Angler to get a free mercenary real quick. We'll also have to buy... Oh, no, there it is. For some reason it was over there. We'll also have to make sure we got our greatsword equipped. But that really sucks about that pillar, man. I was hoping to at least get through that second set of islands. Leo Lima says choosing different voices this time around. Well, that wouldn't be any fun. I think legally I have to pick all of that voice. Alright, let's go Rowdy Rogue, just because that's real easy. All the decks we can get. Or no, is Rowdy... Is it Thug? One of the... It's not Rowdy, I don't think. Yeah, Thug. Thug is one of the rogues uses strength, and for some reason I always think it's Rowdy, because like the word rowdy in my mind is like, oh yeah, strength. Like, that doesn't make any sense. We'll just go Constitution. Trickery for sure. We'll make you Knowledge Arcana. Well, no. We can... The first island, we should be able to grab somebody like a spellcaster or something and make them Knowledge Arcana. But Perception, just to have it, and these two, why not? Oh, and then we will grab Weapon Finesse for the decks, and Blind Fight.
Their life ends here. This will hurt.
Oh. Leo Lima says Wade isn't Rowdy. No, Thug is the one that uses strength, I'm pretty sure. And Banjo Dark says Porch always makes me a little... Yeah, that's fair. It's a bit of a silly one. Alright. So... Should be pretty much good to go there. We'll stop by the shop real quick, grab a rogue for... a weapon for the rogue, I should say. Ben just says it's the portrait is very, I tip my hat to thee. Yeah, it's definitely that kind of thing. I always forget to talk to the helmsman. I always walk straight to the boat, but you gotta, like, when you start a new run, you have to talk to the helmsman first. And I always forget, like, every single time I forget to do it. Alright. Let's get to getting. Alright. Now we can see the navigator because we've got the tailwinds and everything. We can carry on. So that wipe to the pillar, I would say, is one of the more frustrating things that can happen in this DLC, is that sometimes you'll run into things that are just vastly over-leveled compared to you. And you just don't really stand a chance.
I am never wrong.
Because it's one of those, like, yeah, if I knew that fight was coming, I could have done something about it, but kind of just the way the roguelike element of it goes.
I'm gone. Ah, test of my abilities.
But the first islands are always pretty easy.
We do it my way.
Malvolio says some of the stuff has high stats in the campaign early on. Yeah, like, it does, don't get me wrong, but again, you know those things are coming, which means you can do something about it. Whereas it's just very difficult to plan in a roguelike because of the very nature of it.
That was easy.
Relar says, are witches good healers? They can be, if you build them for it. Clerics and oracles are probably the easiest way to go in terms of making a healer, just because it's very simple. But witches can be good at it if you pick up the appropriate spells and hexes and everything.
Strike! Their life ends here.
There is a healing hex that I actually like a lot for the convenience of it, because it lets you effectively cast a healing spell without actually using any of your spell slots, which I've always enjoyed. Zeros says, I wish I knew the water elemental was coming my first time around. Don't we all? If it's not the one in the shield maze, it's the one in the DLC. Yeah, Malvolio seconding the Oracle for healing. Yeah, the Oracle is just a really easy class to make a healer.
Follow if you dare.
Oh. Got a level 3 giant spider.
This will be quick, you
Which
son of
really
one!
shouldn't be a big deal at all.
I am your
There we go.
end!
Grab our chest.
I'm off!
And off we go.
This will... Their life ends here!
Yeah, mythic channeling is pretty good. We'll be coming up to the end of this island here in just a second. They normally don't run too terribly long. Like the first chain of islands, I mean. There are some maps in general that are much larger than others. That. This loops around to nothing.
Aha!
There's the
A
end.
test of my
Gotta
ability
kill
with
this
something
fiendish centipede.
I do what I must.
Alright, now we can recruit somebody else, and... I think we'll make this person our Angel Fire Apostle from last time. Any Wrath of the Righteous boss surprise you? He mentions Playful Darkness specifically. Playful Darkness surprised me because of the entrance it makes. Like, you come around that corner and it literally just charges you out of nowhere. So it literally surprised me. Because I wasn't expecting it. But once I knew it was a Death Snatcher, it's easy enough to deal with. Skills says, is this a new run? It was. We came up against a very high-level pillar that killed us. At level 4, it was like level 15, so just the way it goes. Steven says, your videos are fire. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Alright, let's go. A little bit of strength. And a little bit of constitution. Knowledge Arcana and Lore Religion. Oh, we have one more. Perception. Max Match says Nimble Pillar. Basically. Alright, and then for our... Yeah, let's just grab extra channel, make it simple. And then we'll go Erastal and Animal and Community.
I'll take care of it.
Confident male voice, always.
I'm always ready.
Alright, so... There's that.
My skills are absolute.
Make sure his spells are sorted out, which at this level should pretty much just be Bless, yeah. And off to the next one. Do I think Wrath of the Righteous Enhanced Edition is going to be as big as Divinity Original Sin 2? Probably not quite. I would say Wrath of the Righteous's Enhanced Edition is going to be fairly tame in comparison to something like Kingmaker, which honestly needed a lot more love and was a bit more of an overhaul, whereas this is just some nice additions. But I hope it will help flesh out Act 5 specifically a bit more, which, you know, how well that pans out has yet to be seen, but that's the hope anyway. Skill says I spend longer to choose a portrait than Mort does to build a whole character. You know, I play this so much that after the first couple of runs, the role-playing elements are easier to brush aside, I guess, if that makes sense. Especially when you're doing it for, like, content, because it's like, I don't need to pick a portrait, I just need to get moving, you know what I mean? What do I think of the Brew Potion and Scribe Scroll feats? They're pretty cool. I like the concept. I think, in general, with potions and scrolls specifically, it's usually just so easy to get them other ways that I don't really bother, because you have so much gold by the end of Act 5. It's like, why would I ever bother crafting this when I could literally just go buy like 200 of them?
Interesting.
There's a trap. Oh man, I thought for sure we were going to step onto that trap. Nice. No, the Enhanced Edition is a free update to the base game. It's not something you have to pay for. Given that I've covered them extensively, do I have contacts at Paizo Alcat? Yes, I do. Paizo a little less so. Alcat very much so. There are people I can easily get a hold of at Alcat basically whenever. Paizo, I do have somebody I can talk to, but it's more formal, I guess you could say.
There's something here.
What do I think is a reasonable price for Elix 2 given the jank? Personally, I would feel comfortable with it being about $30.
This will be quick.
Rylar says, is Beneath the Stolen Lands any good? Yeah, it's pretty good. I would tell you, this one actually tries to do more than that. That Kobold messed us up, and it was just a regular old Kobold. That single Kobold did more damage to us than anything else so far.
I'll take care of it.
Grab a channel there. Zeros says, I wonder how long it'll take for the second pass DLCs to come out. I would be surprised if we don't start seeing them by the end of the year. I imagine they'll probably try to get at least one more out around the holidays, you know, like Thanksgiving, Christmas, and the rest would probably be next year. Excuse me.
Follow if you dare. This will be quick.
Mahoney says, I noticed in your Thymesia review that you blast through notes, etc. I read them later. So in Thymesia specifically, there's like a log where you can go read them. Like if I'm trying to, I don't like breaking the flow of what I'm doing, especially in an action game like that, to stop and read a note. It just feels very silly. So what I would do with Thymesia is when I would go back to the hub area, I would sift through them. It just felt very pace-breaking to do it like literally in the middle of the level. Mayor West is in the chat. Any thoughts on the Voice of Cards series? Offhand, no. Doesn't ring any bells, to be honest with you. Maybe if I saw it, I would do something, but off the top of my head, I'm not sure.
A trivial task.
Nice.
You should have run! A test of my abilities.
Aiden says if there's one thing I want to know about Pathfinder lore, it's what happened to Aridin. Well, that would be telling, wouldn't it? Like, you know, like once the mystery's gone, something tends to become less interesting.
Test of my abilities.
Mahoney says, yeah, you're clearly invested in the lore for things like Divinity Original Sin. Yeah, I love Divinity, man. I hope Pathfinder doesn't wind up being in the same boat where it's like, I just never know if we're going to get a game again. Like, Wrath of the Righteous is still pretty fresh, whereas Divinity is like 5 years on from its last release now. No, it's just one of those, like, Divinity, it's like, I've kind of resigned myself to the fact that it will likely be like 2030 before I see another one. And I hope Pathfinder doesn't wind up going that route as well. Do I think it's more likely we'll see a game based on Starfinder or Pathfinder 2e? I would say... The Kobold was still alive. I didn't even realize it was still up. That was an evoker. That one was level 4, I believe, is what the evokers are on the first chain.
Absolute.
One more. Oh, come on. Heal for something decent. Jeez. There we go. Okay, so Moose Enthusiast says I don't know how they'll follow Mythic Paths. Well, I think getting a separate game out before they release something else is probably the smart move there, in terms of like if they release more Pathfinder games.
I'm gone.
Just because I agree, I think it would be very hard to follow. But I think if there's a different game they release between those two things, it won't be as bad. In terms of the clear, stark contrast.
Their life ends here.
Any thoughts on the next Rogue Trader game, or what I think about Warhammer 40k? I like it so far. I've been kind of diving into the lore in my free time, and it's pretty interesting. But Rogue Trader in particular, with what little I do know about Warhammer 40k, does seem like the exact perfect place to set a CRPG, because in a lot of the other areas, if you will, like the games and lore out there, it seems like it would be difficult to make a CRPG where there's really much choice to be had due to the lore and how the setting works, whereas Rogue Trader, you actually do have some freedom to do something, which I think is like half the battle. Rather says I'd love a TTR or a Star Wars game CRPG. I think a lot of people would. I think that would be really cool. I don't know that we'll ever see one, but it would be cool. I definitely would check it out.
We do it my way.
With Pathfinder 2nd Edition, it would be a shame if we never got a new game. I agree. I think, again, this is just my personal opinion. I don't know anything, but I would be very surprised if the next Pathfinder game is not the 2nd Edition. Or using that rule set, I mean. Because from what I understand, Wrath of the Righteous was in development kind of like when 2E released, so it was kind of already too late. But that was kind of the way it was going while this game was even being developed, so that's the way it goes. Karakhan says there was KOTOR. I think he was talking more isometric CRPGs, and also KOTOR is like, God, I don't even remember the exact date. It's almost 20 years old now. So I don't think it's unreasonable to ask for a fresh one. Quick level ups here. We've got several easy classes to level up this time, so I can kind of just breeze through them. Okay, so off to the next island. Godzilla Tube says more Shadowrun. Yeah, I would love another Shadowrun, man. Shadowrun's a lot of fun. I don't know that it has a lot of widespread interest, but, you know, CRPGs are kind of niche inherently anyway, so hopefully we see more.
A trivial task. Follow if you dare. This will hurt.
More
A test
kobolds.
of my abilities. And your end.
KOTOR was pretty fun. I enjoyed it a lot. I think it was a little limited by the technology at the time, but it was still very
This will
fun.
be quick. I'm off.
There, I said too bad it went the way of the MMOs. Yeah, I understand where you're coming from, but the Old Republic was actually a really fun
Don't
MMO.
hold back.
Like, the stuff they did for storytelling in that MMO was really cool. I actually played through the single player story, like not single player per se, but the story campaigns for all of the old SWTOR's classes, because they're really good. So while again I would like to see a CRPG, what's available in SWTOR, at least as far as the stories go, were actually pretty impressive. There we go. Slightly stronger kobold there than normal. Missed a bunch. Gino says best way to kill a large water elemental at low level. Rowdy Rogue's usually a good way to go because they get a bunch of sneak attack dice right at level 1. But you have a few options. Alright. Kind of blasting through this one.
Test of my abilities.
Oh, here's a level 4 alchemist. Yeah, he didn't get a chance to do much. I was worried he was going to throw some bombs at us. Alchemist bombs suck. Karakon says Chrono Trigger. Any opinion on classic JRPGs like 7 through 9, Final Fantasy 7 through 9 or Chrono Trigger? I like a lot of them. I've played every single mainline Final Fantasy. Of all of them, 12 is my favorite. 9 is probably a close second, and 7 would be like a third.
I do what I
Banjo
must.
Dark says they announced a remaster of Suikoden today. Nice. Yeah, Square Enix was announcing a bunch of stuff recently that I hadn't had a chance to actually check out. I just remember seeing all of the news, so to speak.
Their life ends here.
Not a genre I cover extensively, though, so I hadn't had a chance to actually look at it much.
I'm gone.
There's a chest.
That was easy.
Sometimes you'll see these like blank chests in the environment that you can't actually loot.
We do it my way. This will be quick.
Hyped for Dragon's Dogma 2? Yeah, very much so. The first Dragon's Dogma, I haven't played through that for a review this year, actually, which I'm sure a few people in chat are well aware of, but that game had some really great things going for it. I can see why people speak so highly of it, so I hope the second game manages to improve on some of that stuff. Alex R says, best of luck, you'll smash this challenge. Love the vids, thank you. I appreciate it, though to be fair, I would be genuinely surprised if I win this challenge, because today's pretty much the last chance I'll have to do anything with it, and we are not getting very far by any means. Realistically, if I had wanted to win this thing, I would have needed like 30 or 40 hours to devote to it this week, and there was just no way. Had some IRL things I had to do. I think the only chance of me winning this thing is if no one else happens to play on Daring, which I guess is possible, but outside of that, I doubt I'll win. That would be kind of hilarious if I won because nobody else played on this difficulty, though. Holy Inquisition says, if I was able to choose any IP to become a CRPG, what would I go with? There's a lot of great ones there.
I'm off.
But, as people in chat have already mentioned, I think Star Wars would be a really cool option to see something kind of new, because, again, the last one was many moons ago, but
I'm always ready.
discounting that, I'm trying to remember the name of it. There was
I do what I must.
there was like a fantasy thing I read in school, and I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head that I thought would be really good. But another actually one that I would like is Vampire the Masquerade, actually, because like Star Wars, we haven't seen really a proper CRPG in that way since Bloodlines, and hard to say how Bloodlines 2 is going to turn out, so who knows. Joseph says, what videos do I got on the docket for next week, like the 20-year retrospective for Divinity? I'm going to try to get reviews out. There's a couple games releasing next week that I want to take a look at, Solstice being one of them. I'm still working my way through Troubleshooter, which I finally got a chance to actually start properly. Troubleshooter is probably the one I'm trying the hardest to finish. But Solstice is launching next week. I think Diofield Chronicles also launching next week. So I'll be checking those out. And then it just kind of depends on how far I get in Troubleshooter over the next couple days, because what I'm doing right now, outside of streaming this competition, is actually trying to work my way through that game for a review. Stop my guys before they run into a trap there. Karakon says, Mage the Ascension. Yeah, that's another great World of Darkness one. We haven't really seen them do much with Mage the Ascension in terms of video games, because that would definitely be a lot of fun. But as Godzilla points out, the White Wolf IP in general, basically everything in their World of Darkness, really hasn't seen a lot of love that isn't like narrative games, and I think they have so much more potential than that. Preston says, evening, curious if you prefer Pathfinder or D&D. Pathfinder, hands down. I like D&D 5e, but it's relatively simple, and I prefer things that are a little more mechanically complex, so to speak. Neo says, to all evidence, Bloodline 2 isn't happening. I don't think it's been canceled yet, and at the same time, I think it could also still be canceled, but there's really nothing we can do besides wait and see. That's not the kind of thing a company would publicly lie about because of the legality of it. Because if you're saying you're working on something you're not, you could get sued. But it's very possible for it to still get canceled because, as you mentioned, we haven't heard anything. Hard to say. Moose Enthusiast says Arcanum 2 is where it's at. Man, I hope so. That would be great. Like a lot of games, just any continuation of that, and again, more modern systems, I think, would be a lot of fun. Have I played, reviewed the Expeditions games? I played and reviewed Expeditions Rome earlier this year, yeah. Skills says, have you ever tried GURPS? I have a little bit. I'd be lying if I said I was a master of it by any means, but I have messed around with GURPS a little. Max Chronicler says, hello, how's it going, man? Alright, so always get lost in these, like, non-dungeon ones, because these maps are actually pretty open.
I'm off.
Karakon says, anything recent similar to Arcana music? I'm terrible with sound. So some people might realize that I don't ever really talk about sound in my reviews, and that is because I was an artilleryman in the Army, and it's hard for me to talk about sound, because I just don't feel like I hear it the same way other people do. Grab everything. And I think we'll be on our way to the 5th. Yeah, I'm hoping Bloodlines 2 makes it out as well. It's just kind of wait and see. Definitely possible for it to get canceled, though. What are all the Abyssal Anchor things I keep passing by? If you are in the roguelike mode, those are your save points. There are 2 modes to this DLC now. Just yesterday, they added Sink or Swim, which is the Last Aslanti, like, one save where you just restart every time you die. And then there's the sort of traditional one where you can just make saves for everything. And the Abyssal Anchors, if you're playing on Sink or Swim, are where you can actually save the game at. Danilo says, hi, your review got me to play Tyranny. Had so much fun, even though it was short in comparison. I finished it without realizing. Yeah, so Tyranny feels a little unfinished in that way. Like, when things start getting really interesting is where the game stops, which is a bummer. So you're not alone there. That is what most people think about it. Sneak attack. This is our rogue, so we'll do dex to damage now. Oh no, not fencing great, because I'm pretty sure... Yeah, because we'll go 2-weapon fighting. I forgot he was dual wielding. Max says former Paradox CEO is still attached to his responsibility to on Twitter. Yeah, again, I'm pretty sure it's in development. I would be very surprised if they had, like, secretly canceled it, because I think if they weren't gonna just cancel it, I think they would just come out and say that. Lying would not benefit them in any way. If anything, it would actively harm them. Trying to grab super easy stuff for our cleric. That way I'm not spending too many times on menus here. Moose Enthusiast says, I was hoping I could be more evil in Tyranny. You could be pretty evil in Tyranny. Like, not every path, but there's some pretty evil stuff you can do in that game. Xerox says it'd be unfortunate if Tyranny dies because of, they didn't bother advertising. I would be surprised if we see another Tyranny. I'm not going to say it's impossible, but I would be genuinely shocked if we ever see Tyranny 2. Hey, the werewolves. This island is usually werewolves or water elementals. Like the 5th island in the chain, I mean. Danilo says, love the concept of the Archons and the Edicts. Yeah, it's, the lore and the world building, like, they had a lot of really cool things going for them. And unfortunately, it just didn't sell well, so, again, I just highly doubt we'll ever see more. Thomas B says, just happy about the overall resurgence of RPGs in the last 5 years. You and me both, honestly. It's been a, like, if you're into CRPGs and RPGs in general, it's been a great few years.
Don't hold back!
In terms of game releases. Oh man, that guy smacked the crap out of him. He got tripped by that wolf. That guy bore the brunt of that. Yeah, Moose Enthusiast points out Tyranny's magic system. Very big fan of that magic system. I liked that a lot. It's not exactly in the same ballpark, but Tyranny's magic system, I kind of feel, is almost like what Oblivion was trying to do. Which is weird because a lot of people like the spell crafting in Oblivion, but I think if Oblivion or Skyrim had a spellcrafting system like Tyranny's, I think that would have been so cool, as opposed to that just sort of free-form mess that they threw out there. Might just be a me thing, I guess. Some people agreeing in chat, though.
Interesting.
Okay, can I get to...
We do it my way.
the trap?
Ha! A trivial task. You shall... Aha! A test of my abilities. Interesting.
There we go. Good grief. A lot of traps in this string of islands. Elcry says Daggerfall spellcrafting was kind of nuts too. It was. I don't pretend to be the authority on Daggerfall, but I have messed around with it. And its spellcrafting was ridiculous. And I remember, because it was Daggerfall and thus not tested thoroughly well, you could create spells that would just kind of break the game, but in ways you wouldn't expect. Like, you can create a spell that just heals you for a single point and spam it over and over again to train your, I forget the skill it was. But very doable.
Follow if you dare.
Still a pretty cool concept, though.
Ah, a test of my abilities.
Zara says, call me when they bring back
You
levitate.
should have run!
You know the funny thing about the levitate? I can see why they took it out, but I think the book that they put out that was like, yeah, levitate was made illegal, that's why nobody uses it now, was so ridiculous. Like, yeah, we're out here dealing with bandits who clearly aren't following the law, so, but everyone just decided not to cast levitate. That's just so silly.
This will hurt!
Godzilla Tube says, love following laws, Denosis society could crumble. So it could, apparently. Despite all the crazy illegal things we get up to in the Elder Scrolls, levitate is where everybody drew the line. Godzilla says it's like when Dune when they got rid of guns, except for the explanation that made more sense. Yeah, that's just the way it goes. That's just one of those things where, like, everybody knows why you did it. It was just, like, gameplay, right? So it's fine. Like, just say that out loud in the real world. Don't add this ridiculous book to the game trying to explain it.
I am never wrong.
Alright, I believe this is the boss room? Yeah. Okay, let's see if we can fight this guy without dying. Which I will turn-based on for. Elcry says, summoning demons is fine. You float around, banned. That's about right.
Weapons, spells, poisons.
Alright, let's heal up a little bit.
Killing is so diverse these days. A shame one life is not enough to master them all.
Cast Bless.
I'm always ready.
Got our Slayer charge
Here!
in. We got the other guy this time. What? Come on, this dude has 100 health. I don't normally see that. Like, I think this is the first time I've ever seen this one. Normally it's the dude with the crossbow or another guy with like sword and shield or something like that. And it would help if the turn-based would quit robbing me of my movement.
Don't hold back!
There we go. Clem says Morrowind had a jump scroll of Icarus or something. Yeah, so if you didn't have a way to like cushion the fall, you would, that mage that falls right outside of Saint-Denis drops them, and you could grab them, use them, and you would just die if you didn't have a way to like cushion the blow, so to speak. They use those in the speedruns, actually.
Don't hold back!
Tenacious says, wow, first time seeing your face? Yeah, I get that a lot every time I stream. Moose Enthusiast says, Wrath of the Righteous Season 2 DLC is actually just Skyrim re-released. Yeah, that checks out. Sounds like something Todd Howard would do. Karisu says, keep up the good work. Thank you, I appreciate that. Oof.
Strike! Strike!
We don't have bad health. This guy is just doing
Could they still
work.
got it?
Man. That guy had over 100 health at level 5. About right, though. Skills says Skyrim needs another release. I can't play it on my toaster yet. I mean, you can play the voice version on Alexa. Vash says, as a new player who hasn't even finished the campaign, could the DLC be good to play like test builds and everything? Yeah, very much so. I would tell you the roguelike has elements that won't necessarily come up in the regular campaign, but it is still a pretty good place to test builds out. Alright, what tailwind do we want to grab? Got bludgeoning weapons, exotic weapons, or scorched earth. Scorched earth is pretty good, but I don't like micromanaging spells when I'm trying to stream, because then it's hard to talk to people and also pay attention to what I'm doing. Ivan says, do you level faster in the DLC? Very, very much so, yeah. You get a bunch of extra experience for just kind of clearing through islands really fast. What do we want to do this time? Pretty much done the easy ones, to be honest. Could go Inquisitor. Haven't played one of those in a while. I like Sacred Huntsmaster. Oh, I don't need that much wisdom. What am I doing? Probably go with a bow. There we go. We'll go Trickery, Knowledge Arcana, Perception. There. Point blank shot, precise shot. Asmodeus, mostly because he's right at the top. Violet on. Bless and Divine Favor.
I'm always ready. I'll take care of it.
Leo says same portrait. Yeah, I usually just pick the easiest ones. Skills says there's a melee shaman build, but would a melee witch build be doable? You probably could. I think it's Hagbound that gets a bunch of bonuses to their strength. I haven't messed around with it, but you could probably build something. I don't know that I'd go that way for unfair, but it's definitely doable. Thomas B says you should stream more often. It's cool to see you struggle as opposed to the very well-polished reviews. Yeah, that's about right. Though, to be fair, if you couldn't tell by my relaxed demeanor, I'm not really trying very hard. Because if I actually wanted to do this, I would, rather than picking these easy-to-play classes so I can talk with chat more, I would be picking up spellcasters to actually, buff and cast spells as appropriate, instead of just kind of picking whatever's easiest to play. Moose Enthusiast says no visual change for a Hagbound transformation. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff like that, like the Blood Kineticist and their Blood Blast. It still just looks like a regular Water Blast type of stuff. But I do agree it can be a little disappointing. Godzilla says, I don't know if it'd be the most powerful, but which of the Veil levels, sneak attacks, and combat invisibility can be done? Yeah, that sounds about right. Like I said, I'm pretty sure you could do something cool. I just haven't messed around with it much. Well, we have it pulled up. Probably guys can actually see. Yeah, so Hagbound gets Hunched Muscle, and by the time they hit level 14, they get up to a +6 to their strength just by leveling up. So off the top of my head, that's probably the route I would try to go if I wanted to make a melee witch, but as you mentioned, they get a low base attack bonus, so that would be hard to make up for. But yeah, you could probably do something. Just all of the strength, a little bit of dex, a little bit of constitution. Pinoy says, really appreciated your 1 year on YouTube video. Awesome to hear your story and background. Thank you. I appreciate it. Sometimes it's nice to talk about something that isn't video games, you know what I mean? Kind of let people know how you got here, that kind of thing.
Follow if you dare. A trivial task.
I think also it helps people who are still, like, you know, doing YouTube as a hobby to hear just kind of how somebody actually made that transition to doing it full time. It's not something you hear a lot about.
We do it my way.
At least I don't, anyway. Every time. I almost forgot to talk to the
I'm never
helmsman.
wrong. I'll take care of it.
Hello. Do you...
Skill says, had to put down my demon run when I found Blood Blast wasn't red. Literally unplayable. Yeah, that's about right. Okay, so... head up here and give this a go. That last little mini boss you ran into, I don't think I've ever seen that guy on that first island. Every 5 islands, the mini boss, it pulls from a pool of bosses that you can potentially run into.
There's something here.
And I've been through this quite a bit, and I've only ever seen the dude with the crossbow and one other guy I don't remember the name of. But it wasn't that guy,
This will be
and he
quick.
certainly didn't have 100 health. No, I forgot to turn the turn-based off. Moose Enthusiast says he stream sniped you. That's about right. You know, once you get so big on YouTube, you just kind of got to expect that kind of thing to happen.
That was easy.
Why are you... use your greatsword. What are you doing?
A trivial task.
I do think it's kind of funny how you can basically like
I'll
walk
check a
through
test of my
some of these
abilities.
islands until you get to the mini boss, and then it's like not just a little stronger than everything else, but like outrageously stronger than everything. Oh, Kane joined the channel as a member. Thank you so much. Zeros said if you had an assassin, you could have beat that boss. You know what? It's true. I think everyone doesn't give the assassin its due. If you're unaware, assassin is actually the single best class in the game. It's definitely not the worst because almost everything is immune to its poisons. That's just what the haters would tell you because they don't understand how amazing it is. Vosh says, what's the sink or swim mode? It's a new mode that was added yesterday that allows you to keep the last Aslanti part of the roguelike, or if you could turn it off, you can save traditionally, like multiple save files. So it's the difference between it being a roguelike or allowing you to actually save. Moose Enthusiast says, rolling an assassin right now. Good luck. Gino asks if you can rest between islands. You can. You do have to watch out for your corruption, though.
Don't hold back. Their life ends
So realistically,
here.
you're probably only going to be able to roll rest rather once or twice, maybe, depending on whether or not you pass the divine ritual thing that weakens the impact of corruption. If you pass that, you might be able to roll or rest more than once, but it's not going to be much.
We do it my way.
Where is the door? There it is. Kane says, what class did you first beat unfair with? I actually don't remember. I want to say it was Scald? I'm actually not sure. Sorry about that. I feel like it was Scald.
There's something here.
I know I did one with Scald. That's the only thing that's springing to mind right this second. How do the late game Mythic Pass work in the standalone DLC? You can just pick them at rank 8. You don't have to do anything special. They're just options when you get there. Gino says the resting restriction penalizes the casting classes more so than anybody else, yeah.
This will be quick.
Matt says you can rest once without cleric or twice with... Yeah,
I'm off.
I want to say it's a lore religion check. But it's just whether or not you pass that check that weakens corruption. Kind of depends on how many times you can actually rest without taking on like full corruption, which is basically death. Joseph says, you ever really feel like you can't enjoy the games you play with the pressure of needing to sprint through them for YouTube? So here's the thing. I think a lot of people are under the impression that I need to rush, and that's just not true. So
Do what I must.
if I was trying to, like, you know, sometimes there are deadlines because that's just the way things work, but realistically, with the way I do reviews and the 100% thing, people don't expect me to have reviews up day one. In fact, personally, from my own experience, even when I don't have reviews up on day one, they still do very well. Like, the Elden Ring review was up probably like a week and a half, 2 weeks after the release date, and it still got over 100,000 views.
Strike.
So, again, people seem to be like, oh, you need to, like, how do you even enjoy games if this is the way you're playing them? But I think people misunderstand the situation a little bit. I'm really not in much of a hurry. Moose Enthusiast says Scald seems super strong with melee party. Do they not make the barbarians kind of obsolete? They certainly can. Scald is just very good across the board and can do a lot of buffs party-wide that a lot of people can only do for themselves, like the barbarian. I wouldn't say it replaces the barbarian because Inspired Rage is a little bit weaker, and you obviously don't want to give Inspired Rage necessarily to casters, but by and large, yes, in some ways it does replace the barbarian. Abdulaziz says, hello, just wanted to start watching your channel a while ago, asking your opinion on what an easy CRPG is for beginners. I started with Divinity 1. The two that I recommend to beginners are usually Wasteland 3 and Divinity Original Sin 2. Divinity Original Sin 1 is a little clunky still, whereas I forgot what I was saying. Divinity Original Sin 2 is a more refined version of Divinity Original Sin 1, which is a little easier. Original Sin 1 can be less intuitive than 2 is. They refined a lot of stuff. For instance, in Original Sin 1, the summoning in particular is all over the place. Like, it's every little skill tree has summons, whereas Original Sin 2 just pulled all of them out and made them one because they were so popular, so they kind of got their own little tree. Leo says, tried colluding Scoundrel with a leopard yet? I have played that in the past, but not specifically in this DLC, no. Max says Neverwinter Nights 2, in my opinion. Yeah, fair enough. Andrew Downing says, what's the Midnight Isles challenge? Basically just seeing how far you can get in the Midnight Isles DLC. Okay, what was I doing? Talking and not paying attention. Yeah, it'll be fine. We'll grab extra channel. Rastal, animal, and community.
I'm always ready. I have no use for this.
No, we took dexterity damage on our pet.
It's time to act.
Took a lot of damage on that first island. More so than I would have expected.
My way.
Citizen says hello, just saying hello. Hey, I love the work you're doing. One quick, is doing solo runs interesting to you? Yeah, it can be. It kind of just depends. I like solo runs when it feels like a puzzle, if that makes sense. Like, obviously, if I'm just trying to beat something, like, the full party's the way to go. But sometimes playing a game solo can feel like a puzzle of, like, do I need this ability at this time, that kind of thing. And I enjoy it in that way. Like, Baldur's Gate 1, I actually did solo runs on. And it kind of felt that way, and I had a lot of fun with it. So it kind of just depends on how it feels. Because if the solo run is just me being a ridiculously powerful character with one guy, and it's less of, again, kind of a puzzle around, like, how to solve something in an unconventional way, then that's less interesting to me. Olstein says, Artie, thank you for a YouTube comment for reviewing Disco Elysium, but thank you again. You're very welcome. That was a very highly requested one. People asked me about that one all the time, so it was kind of one of those, like, I'm going to have to do it eventually, but I'm glad you enjoyed it. Ross says, see, you're a fan of blind fighting feet. I also take it from most party members. Yeah, it's... Truth be told, you probably don't need it as much in the roguelike here, but it's a force of habit more than anything else. It's almost integral to the base campaigns, if you will, because of the immunity to gaze attacks.
Their life ends here.
Sola says, Disco Elysium is awesome. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Louis says, just wanted to say thank you for the content you create. Your videos are pure gold. Special thanks for build suggestions. Hyped for Rogue Trader. I am very hyped for Rogue Trader. I think Rogue Trader is going to be a ton of fun. If anything, because I really enjoy learning, just kind of in general, but especially about, like, fantasies and worlds that I don't know much about yet. So Rogue Trader is an opportunity for me to learn more about Warhammer 40k specifically, which I enjoy quite a bit. So in addition to potentially being a fantastic game by a developer that I'm a fan of, I also get to learn about a new setting. Twang says more monks. It's an old video, and it might be contentious to say this out loud on a stream, but I don't like monks that much.
There's something here.
Oh man, we stepped like right on top of that trap and somehow didn't set it off.
My skills are absolute. This will be quick.
There it is. Triggered combat. Oh. Yeah, a lot of what I expected. A lot of chats about the monks. Yeah, I don't know. I've never been a huge fan of it, I guess. It just seems kind of out of place, I guess.
A trivial task.
Like, it's a cool enough concept. It just seems silly at times. And then in Pathfinder specifically, it's frustrating because people aren't playing monks, really. What people mean when they like monks in Pathfinder is that they like taking dips into monk to make use of the feats and the stats that you can get from taking like a level 1 dip. And that's kind of boring to me, because it's like you're not even playing the class, really. You like it because of this artificial thing you can do at level 1.
Strike!
Wazan says Sensei monks are cool as hell. They are, and I made a build for a Sensei monk, actually, that you can check out the channel for if you want. But yes, I actually do think they're pretty cool. But again, monk is one of those classes, like, you see people take dips into it, but how often do you see someone actually playing a monk? Blank says they're more fun in an actual TTRPG, and I agree.
That was easy.
And I think that's a TTRPG sessions where they have more of a chance to shine too, which is the case for a lot of classes and stuff in general. Clem Hazard says I played a skilled fist build sometimes, like 16 monk for assuming Dragon's Disciple. Well, Clem, by the law of statistics, even when I say how often do you see no one playing it because I'm on stream, there's bound to be one person who's like, actually, I do this one particular thing, but, 99% of people do not. But yes, I acknowledge that there are technically a few. Wazan says Stunning Fist will destroy your big bad evil guy half the time. Yeah, I mean, in a lot of cases.
This will hurt.
This will be quick.
It's actually kind of interesting because while you don't see people play a lot of monk in the game, you actually don't see people play a lot of kineticist in the tabletop version either, just because it's very unintuitive to try to keep track of everything. Zeros says I dislike dips in Pathfinder in general. You are correct. A DM would not allow most of that, and if you go by official rules, a lot of that stuff isn't allowed in terms of like the crazy bonus stacking. Some of that stuff is just house ruled in game for the chance to be fun. But another thing to keep in mind is that Pathfinder 2e actually kind of got rid of that. Multiclassing works very differently in that game as well. Max says, I wonder how Monk is going to be in Solasta. Me too, actually. I think it'll be pretty cool overall, though. Especially since they use kind of those homebrewed subclasses for that. Matt the Hazard says it's the wisdom to AC that most people want. That is correct. Thomas B. gifted 5 more channel memberships, man. That's awesome. Sam C., Patrick B., Kevin Hardisty, Manton, and... oh, naturally. Got a spam one in there as well. That's the way the gifted ones go, I guess. But at least 4 actual people got one. Zeros says that last one, yeah. You know, part of me kind of hopes that that's a real person with a ridiculous username that I'm absolutely not going to say out loud. But it could go either way. I guess we'll see in a second if they type in chat. Neodop says you're not going to read that last one out loud. No, I'm not. Because, as I'm sure it might occur to you, if that is a real person, they named their account that specifically to try to get people to read it out loud. Which is funny, I admit, but hard pass. Eystein says, hope to see you review Hades sooner rather than later. It's such a favorite. I might at some point. I'm kind of on the fence about it because games like that are really hard to cover in my normal capacity, which is what I assume people want when they ask me to take a look at it. Because, like, yeah, I could do, like, a checkout video, but I don't think that would scratch the itch people are looking for. And then if I do a more in-depth look at it, it's like, then how do I format that into a video? So it's not that I'm saying never. It's more like I got to figure out how I want to approach it, I guess, if that makes sense. But people do ask about Hades occasionally. You're not the first one there. Moose Enthusiast says that was a local expression for that person's name. Leo Lima says, plot twist, that's their actual name. Their parents are the worst. I would hope not, but it is. Flying says, plot twist, they're a neighbor. Again, I hope not, because I know my neighbors, and that seems like a weird thing for them to do, as he is an 80-year-old retiree.
Interesting.
But again, I guess you never really know people.
That was easy.
Ozan says, come to think of it, just to beat the dead horse on Monk, I think part of the reason people usually go for 10 plus levels in Monk is their fantasy's hard to relate to the media we know. To some degree, sure. Monks in general are kind of weird, especially in something like Wrath of the Righteous, where it's like a more traditional knight slaying a demon kind of thing. But I still think monks have their place. I just wish people actually played the class more rather than just took the dips, I guess, if that makes sense.
Don't hold back.
Their life ends here! A mere flesh wound.
That trap, like I was looking at chat and I walked over a trap, and the trap killed like every kobold in the room on top of actually hitting us.
I'll take care
That was
of
really
it.
funny. Kane says, do you plan to make 40k content before the release of Rogue Trader? I am planning on checking out a few Warhammer 40k games that I will likely like do a review of, that kind of thing. So to some degree, yes. Probably not a ton, but at least a few. Gino asks if I've ever tried Battle Brothers. A little bit, not enough to have a strong opinion. A lot of games almost exactly like Battle Brothers came out like around the same time. Battle Brothers, War Tales, The Iron Oath. I checked out several of them, and it's a pretty cool concept. I can see why people enjoy it so much. Evan says monks should have more some kind of holy powers and not just punching. It might help, but I think at this point the class kind of is what it is. They can't just overhaul the whole thing. Especially in an older edition like this.
This will be quick.
Max says Mechanicus for 40k is worth checking out. That's one of the ones on my list. I've got like a sort of short list of a handful of games I want to play in terms of Warhammer 40,000. Moose Enthusiast says, have you played Might and Magic? A little bit, here and there. I'd be lying if I said I was super familiar with the whole series, but I have played a few of them. What's my opinion on turn-based versus real-time with pause? So people ask me this all the time, and I'm good either way. Like, right now, where I'm trying to talk to chat a little more than I am actually playing the game, I usually prefer real-time with pause. That way I can just kind of be in combat and just kind of let things happen. But in terms of like tactics and trying to do things the right way, if you would, turn-based all the way. I think it's easier to do the more complicated stuff like spell casting, all of the ability toggles, etc. from turn-based, but sometimes there are fights you just know you're going to win because there's no way you could lose, really, and turning turn-based on is just the better, or real-time with pause on is the better way to go. So I enjoy both, and I think games that have both are the best option. Zero says Might and Magic Dark Messiah is worth playing if you haven't.
I'm off.
Don't believe so. I'd have to look, to be honest. But I will likely get around to them at some point. There's a handful, like, there's several games, if you will, that people recommend all the time, and they're on a list, which does actually exist. I have a list of games that I check out that people recommend and ask me to take a look at. I would say right now Gothic is probably at the top of that list. People ask me to play Gothic all the time. Like, I kid you not, I probably get on a slow day, like 2 to 3 comments about playing Gothic, and other days it'll be like 20 plus. Vid Zombie says live stream, nice. Grim says I use turn-based for bosses, but otherwise go real-time. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like, the little fights, I usually do real-time with pause, because, like, you know, you're not going to lose. Jeep says, just tuning in, what's the TLDR of your character builds? Just kind of whatever, really. We're not going that hard into, like, the competitive aspect of it. We're kind of just playing it easy breezy. Basically, whatever's easy to play so I can talk to chat. B. Vargas says, given your completion rate, you'll eventually complete everything. I admire your enthusiasm, but I think more games get made than I could possibly keep up with. So I just try to keep to the ones I'm interested in. Elisa says, thanks for the Colony Ship follow-up review. For some reason, they were really struggling. Would be a shame if they were bankrupt. I'd want to see Colony Ship too. I hear you there, honestly. Colony Ship is a game that has some fantastic ideas, and I like the feel of it. And I hope it does well for them. Wazan says, speaking of dips, though, I thought Robes of the Seven Sins would let me qualify for Mystic Theurge with level 1 in each class, but they fixed it giving spell progression. Yeah. Yeah, some stuff I am surprised when they fix, to be honest. People talking about Gothic, getting that remake coming out soon. Yeah, that's kind of why I'm waiting. I've heard there's going to be a remake, which is why I'm not in a huge hurry to cover the first one, to be honest.
Their life ends here.
But Gothic, the series, I will almost certainly get around to at some point, just because, again, people ask about it all the time. Alright, let's level up real quick.
I am never wrong.
My skills are absolute.
Been picking classes that are easy to level up, so this goes fast. Grim says, I'm looking forward to Colony Ship. Yeah, again, it looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm glad that they made, like... I still don't think the combat's going to be for everybody, of course, but it looks like the combat is much more approachable in general in this one, especially since they added that hero difficulty. So hopefully it'll be a little easier on people. David Freeman says, any ARPGs upcoming that you're looking forward to? Not off the top of my head. I got several offers to check out Torchlight Infinite, but with it being free to play, I just didn't feel comfortable taking a look at it, to be honest. That's the only one off the top of my head I can really think of. Tasa says, have you been given access to what it's like on console, or do I have information on how it will run? I do not. I don't really play on console at all, so when it comes to that, I'm kind of just going to see what everybody else thinks of the console port, because, again, I play almost entirely from PC. Oystein asks what my next Wrath of the Righteous video is going to be about. Probably a build. I would like to put out one new build before the Enhanced Edition launches, which I'm still kind of deciding on, but that'll probably be what I do next. Sin says hi from France. Hello. Preston says, hello, Mort. Have you played Atom RPG? I have and reviewed it. I would recommend it, especially if you like the first two Fallouts. B. Varga says, Exoplanet First Contact is an interesting Gothic-like. That sounds familiar. Off the top of my head, I don't know that I've heard it, but the name sounds familiar.
This will be quick.
Alright, these particular maps that use this environment are usually much smaller than the rest. Like this room will go that way and this way, and the exit is either over here or sometimes it's in the next room over here, but it's usually like the room right after these two. Occasionally there's one bigger variation where it's like this room and then this room with a staircase next to it where the exit is. But these islands in general tend to be a little smaller. Oystein says Diablo 4 should be fun. It should be. It looks like it's going to be good. I'm on the fence about it.
Strike!
I love Diablo. I've talked about this on the channel before, but after Diablo Immortal, it's hard to have a lot of faith in Diablo as a franchise after seeing just what a blatant cash grab Diablo Immortal was.
A trivial task.
That was really disheartening. Like, I'm sure it's going to make them a ton of money, which is what it was designed to do, but just from a gameplay perspective. Yeah, so I'm calling it right now. There's going to be a set of spiral stairs that is the exit right here.
Aha! A test of my abilities.
Yeah, see, there's the staircase, and that's the exit. I think I might have been playing this DLC a little too much, guys. Moose Enthusiast says, but Mort, don't you have a phone? I've actually threw all of my phones away. I don't have a single phone ever. Just out of spite. I found it really difficult to grasp the rules and roles for combat in this game. Yes, it is a lot more difficult than something like Divinity Original Sin 2. It's a bit more convoluted. I made a giant like new player's guide to help people out. Do I play D2R? Yes, I do play D2R. I loved Diablo 2. That's where most of my love for Diablo comes from. I think D2R has been very good, actually. I think it genuinely surprised me how well that remaster turned out. I think it's very good. Kane says, can I make a class that pairs perfectly with Ninio, since she's the best companion? I have a build specifically for Ninio that I love. You can check it out on the channel. It's called the Fearmonger. Do I believe the next 3 DLCs will be additions to the main story? I have limited time to play, and I'm currently thinking of starting a new playthrough. One of them might be. A lot of people have been asking for that, and since Season 2 wasn't planned until well after the fact, I think it's certainly possible, but I don't really know. Flank says Assassin Monk. You can do that if you want, I suppose.
My skills are absolute.
Okay. We're still pretty much good to go. Let's see if we can do the last island in the chain here. Andrew says Rogue or Slayer. I would usually go Slayer myself. Rogues can be a lot of fun, but generally I prefer Slayer.
You should have run! Their life ends here!
Zeros says there's going to be a follow-up to the low-level adventure one. Yeah, there should be, because it literally says to be continued at the end of it. So at least one of them is that. There's a rumor about the other one having something to do with that class that I talked about in the details video. which might just be the wild card-esque thing Zeroth is looking for. But one of them will almost assuredly be
You should have run.
a follow-up to Through the Ashes. Now, Calvin donated $5 and said, have you ever played Torment Tides of Numenera? Thoughts on it? I have. There is a review on the channel if you want my full opinion. But overall, it's pretty good. I'm surprised they backed away from combat as much as they did. But it's still very good.
A trivial task.
Moose Enthusiast has Ascendant Poison DLC. That would be interesting to see, to be honest, because
There's something here.
there are several classes that were new to Wrath of the Righteous that they kind of made a big deal out of, and then they turned out to not be very useful because of things like that. Like, Assassin is one of the new prestige classes to Wrath of the Righteous, if I remember correctly. And, like, it's not even usable. VidZombie says, DOS 1 and 2 or Witcher 3? Well, that depends on the kind of game you're after, to be honest. DOS 1 and 2 are isometric CRPGs, whereas The Witcher is more of an action RPG. I mean, they're all very good, so you can't really pick a wrong choice, but it just kind of depends on what you're in the mood for. Grim says, think they'll add more classes in the future DLC. There is a rumor based on some data mining from the Midnight Isles DLC patch that they might be adding a class, yes. Potentially. They added classes to Kingmaker after the fact, so it's certainly within the realm of possibility.
This will hurt.
Characters got all jumbled up on the door there.
I'm always ready.
I gotta heal up and keep on trucking.
I do what I must.
Moose Enthusiast said, I remember wondering where the Blackguard class was before I realized we're fighting demons. Yeah, so that's what a lot of it boils down to. Because it's like some classes just aren't super useful, other classes are so insanely useful. Just kind of no real balance. So it's like, even if they did add something, like, you know, what if they had a class that isn't great for this campaign, you know? Andrew says, I like the Slayer builds with Paladin and Inquisitor in Wrath. Yeah, that sounds pretty fun. Can't say I'm familiar with one off the top of my head, but in general, that sounds like it'd be cool. Oystein says, how long do I think they'll continue making content for Wrath of the Righteous? Well,
We should move.
on a Reddit thread recently, an Alcat community manager said
gone.
that basically they're going to continue making content until the stales don't really justify it anymore. More specifically, and like, you know, if you want to read what they said, go find the Reddit thread, I suppose. But the gist of it was that they've got Season Pass 2, of course, lined up, and then beyond that, if the sales for Season Pass 2 do well, or the DLCs anyway, not the Season Pass specifically, but if that does well, they'll probably continue to do something. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
We do it my way.
Zeros said, and there's the Defender of the True World and Wrath of the Righteous. Yeah, like that's one of the ones that, again, just isn't useful.
It's time to act.
Are there any hints to what Malady needs the divine power for in Divinity lore? It's never really stated. I think that is what Fallen Heroes was going to follow up on. I think it has something to do with the deal she made that is hinted at throughout the game, but it's never specifically stated. You can make some educated guesses about it, obviously being a deal with a demon of some sort,
I'll take care of it.
which she herself implies multiple times throughout the game. But I would say that's pretty much all the guesses you could make. Oh man, is it this guy again? Alright, it's this guy.
Their life ends here.
Same guy who wiped us last time. I really prefer the archer, to be honest.
This will hurt!
Nice. I did 20 damage to him that you can see right here. And apparently he still has 101 health, guys. I'm going to go ahead and call that a bug.
Strike! Mere flesh wound.
Jesus Christ.
Don't hold back!
Strike!
You should have run!
Maybe temp HP. Possibly. Normally that shows as like a little slash thing on the life. There's like parentheses extra life when it's the temp life usually.
Happen.
This will hurt!
Yeah, there's just no chance.
Mere flesh. Oh.
Like I can beat the archer pretty consistently, but this guy just destroys me. Every time. Zerol says he's too angry to die more. Yeah, apparently so. Also, the fact that he's, again, level 10 with over 100 HP and we're level 3. But that is pretty much it. With that said, guys, I think that is pretty much going to do it for today. Like I said, wasn't really expecting to get far anyway, and if we had still been going by this point, I think I would have suicided it anyway. But, like I said, I think that's pretty much where we're going to wrap it. Hope you guys enjoyed the stream. I certainly enjoyed hanging out and talking with everybody. It was a good time for me. Samuel says I never beat this guy without Rowdy Rogue Archer. Yeah, there's the crossbow guy that spawns on that island sometimes that I can usually beat, but that guy sucks, man. Alright, guys. Hope you have a great night. Thanks, everybody who came out and said hi, but thanks again. May you wander in wisdom and have an amazing night.